Bernard.
Good evening. For those of you in the audience who have not attended one of these hearings recently, let me review our normal procedure. Staff will introduce each item for consideration. If you'd like to speak, please fill out the speaker form located on the table in the lobby and indicate the item number and whether you are for or against the item. And please give the form to the clerk seated on my left. The applicant and supporters will be heard first. Those in opposition to the request will be heard next. Then the applicant may be given a chance for rebuttal if necessary. Comments should be restricted to pertinent information regarding the agenda item under discussion. If you're an individual, you will have 3 minutes for comments. If you're speaking on behalf of a group, you will have 6 minutes for comments. Speakers should move closer to the podium when their item is being presented by staff. Speakers should identify themselves clearly for the record by stating their name and address. Each speaker should be given respectful and courteous attention. The board may ask questions of speakers or staff members. Information such as pictures, site plans, letters, etc., presented at a public hearing will be kept as part of the public record. If you have something on your cell phone you want to show us, we'd love to see it, but you have to promise to send a copy of it to the staff after the hearing. Otherwise, they have to keep your cell phone. I will then ask for a motion from the board. Once a motion has been made and seconded, discussion will be closed to the floor. Following board discussion, a vote will be taken. During voting, board members who do not cast objecting votes are considered to have voted in support of the motion. Any person aggrieved by any decision of the Board of Adjustment may, within 15 days, file an appeal to the Board of County Commissioners through the Planning and Development Division of the Development Services Department. Okay, we're ready for our first item.
Good evening, Kathy Hamill, Development Services. I'm going to be presenting our first item on the agenda, and this is located at 3067 Cecilia Drive, and this is a request for a rear yard setback variance from 30 feet to 14 feet for an addition. The request is for an addition is an existing pool house that encroaches 16 feet into the 30-foot rear yard setback. This request is going to be unique, and so I'm going to give you guys some additional background information. You might already see that it is familiar because it also involved an appeal of the planning manager's decision. In 2020, a building permit was issued for an internal revision to an existing pool house. Since it was an internal revision, it didn't require for zoning to review the plans. And so the permit was approved, construction began on the site, and on the site, a building inspector recommended for there to be a support column for the cantilever roof. And at that time, asking for that additional support, it caused a revision to the building permit. So at that time, when they did the revision to the building permit, it was routed to zoning. And at the time it was routed to zoning, our zoning coordinator reviewed it and saw that it appeared, though, that it didn't meet the rear yard setback. So she asked for the applicant to provide a clear site plan that showed the rear yard setback. The applicant asked, how was the rear yard setback measured? And he wanted to have the planning manager make a determination on how the rear yard setback was measured. She gave her interpretation of that. He appealed that decision on how the rear yard setback was measured, and that was what came before you, the Board of Adjustment. You upheld Mary's decision in her interpretation of how a rear yard setback was measured. The applicant then appealed you upholding her decision, and then it was scheduled to the Board of County Commissioners. During that time of preparing for that, I was able to speak to the applicant, and we decided to, or he decided that we would go back to square one with the variance application, because at the time it was noted that it appeared it not meet the rear yard setback. At that time, we would have asked for him to apply for variance. And so that is the process that we're doing now. We're putting the appeal on hold, and we're now pursuing the variance to the rear yard setback. So now, looking at this structure on this, is that there is a unique situation here in the fact that this was platted in Paradise Point. It was 1948. There was an existing house and a garage on this site when the applicant purchased this property. They demolished the house, but they kept the garage, and the garage was actually converted into a guest house, and that is the structure that we are speaking of tonight. And so when he went in to do some renovations to that pool house and to put a roof over an existing deck, is how we are now at the situation we are now. And so what we're looking at here is we're looking at granting them a variance to an existing structure that pre-existed prior to him buying the piece of property, and allowing the building permit then to follow through for the rest of his inspections. When we review this, looking at does it meet the criteria for granting a variance, the first thing that we look at is that were there any kind of special conditions that existed? And yes, there was several very unique situations. The fact that this structure existed prior, and that the previous home was demolished, and that this garage was converted over to a guest house, and it was already encroaching into the rear yard setback. Did it result from the actions of the applicant? No, it did not. It was actions from a previous owner and a zoning code that didn't require the setback at that time for that guest house. Are accessory structures, pools, guest house, boat house, are they consistent with the surrounding properties? Yes, this property is on Bear Lake, and there are several boathouse, guest house, accessory structures that are on the side of the yard facing the lake. Would this deprive the applicant of other rights commonly enjoyed by other properties? Yes, it would not allow him, as we do, we recognize legal non-conforming structures. And so we will allow for maintenance to be done on those structures. This is what we're allowing this structure to do. So if we did not allow him to do that, then we would be causing him a hardship, because we allow other structures to be able to fall underneath the same legal non-conforming policies in our code. Is this would be in harmony in the general intent of Chapter 30? Yes, this is not an unusual structure in the fact that its square footage, its location on the property, it meets all of the other setbacks except for this rear yard setback. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of this variance, and I am happy to, and it meets all of our criteria as I stated, and I would be happy to answer any information or clarify anything I said before, since I gave you a lot of information.
Okay, this is the same, I remember the hearing. This is the same one
Yeah.
where they helicoptered in columns, if I remember,
Yeah.
for the rear of the house. Okay.
Yes. Yes, and so what I know at that time, because that was an appeal of the planning manager's decision, there were other things that were part of that. In this presentation to you, we are only focusing on the structure and it not meeting the rear yard setback. That is the request that's here before you tonight, not any of the other things that came up with the appeal of how the rear yard was supposed to be measured.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
Helen, you indicated that the appeal gets put on hold. How does that appeal get resolved based on whatever decisions made tonight on the variance?
If the variance is approved tonight, the applicant will withdraw the appeal of the planning manager's,
It'd be moot at that point, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we just, yeah, the agreement is that we would withdraw the appeal or dismiss the appeal.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? All right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, the applicant or representative is present. Is there anything you'd like to say? I need you to come up to the
Yeah.
microphone. We got informed that they're having trouble picking up people in the room that are in front of the microphone.
Yeah, no problem. I'm normally so loud that it's not generally a problem.
I don't know that I've ever had anyone ask me to speak up, but I'm happy to talk in front of the microphone. I do have with me, because it's often one of the criteria, Curtis Sheffield, the northern property neighbor. If the board would like to hear from him, he has not only no objection, he supports the variance. In fact, there was a previous variance that my client had supported back. I think they've been neighbors for 35 years. So he was here to talk in favor of that. Other than that, obviously we're in agreement on requesting the variance.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant's representative?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, just for protocol, and I apologize.
I'm sorry, Douglas Gartenlaub.
Did you identify who you are?
Yeah, I did not.
Yeah.
Douglas
Thank you.
Gartenlaub, I'm an attorney with Byrne Foreman. I'm here representing the Shaws on behalf, requesting the variance for the property.
My apologies. Just
Oh,
I know
and I
who he
guess
is,
my-
doesn't mean you do.
Yeah. My address is 145 Spring Lake Hills Drive, Altamont Springs, Florida, 32714.
Yeah, and I think you confirmed, based on the decision that's made tonight.
Correct.
You know-
Basically, we sat down with the county and came up with a way to resolve it, and we withdraw the appeal if the board rules in
Then
favor of the
everybody
variance.
can move on and be
Correct.
happy.
That's the purpose of this.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve, a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. It's approved. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, next item.
Good evening. For the record, Angie Gates, planner with Planning and Development. Item number 2 is a request for a front yard setback variance from 100 feet to 65 feet for a storage building in the A1 Agricultural District located at 2664 Shad Lane. The proposed storage building will be 1,500 square feet and will project 35 feet beyond the established building line. The storage building will be for the property owner's personal use only and will not be used for commercial business. The St. Johns River States Homeowners Association has approved the proposed storage building. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Is there anything you would like to add to the staff comments? If so, I need you to come up to the microphone, state your name and address.
David Milo, 2664 Shad Lane, Geneva, Florida. This is the first time I've done this, so I don't know. I just was coming up here to, as you can see, I live on the St. Johns River. I can't put the building behind me because of the way the river rises and the levels go up and down. So we picked the spot that we thought would be the best spot for the building to be set at. And this is where I'm at today. Like I said, this is the first time I've done this, so I'm here at your mercy to see what I got to do.
Okay. Any
Thank
questions? Any questions for the applicant? Yes, sir.
Have you chatted with your neighbors just to get whether your folks to your left and your right
Yes.
are okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's where when we came in with the HOA, where I had them say it was okay, everybody's good with it.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Sir?
Sir?
I'm sorry, I didn't want to yell at you. On the survey, what's you have around the dirt driveway, there's another structure that's covered under some concrete. What is that structure?
There's two that's 5 acres right there. That we're gonna do the 2.5 acres on the one side where we got it at. We own the other structure, the other 2.5 acres. That's it's a pole barn that was put up. It's been there for years.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion approved, a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries, it's approved. Good luck. And I will vouch for that whole area. It has been a swimming pool a couple times. Good luck to you. All right, next item.
Item number 3 is for a request for 2 variances. The first request is for a rear yard setback variance from 20 feet to 7 feet for an addition, and the second request is for a rear yard setback variance from 10 feet to 7 feet for a screen room in the Planned Development District and the Regency Estates subdivision located at 2564 Morningstar Place. The proposed addition of a lanai will be 202 square feet and will encroach 13 feet into the required rear yard setback. The proposed open roof screen room will be 316 square feet and will encroach 3 feet into the required rear yard setback. The Regency Estates Homeowners Association has approved the proposed addition and screen room. The property backs up to an amenity pond and recreational area, and there have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Any questions for staff?
I got one.
Yes, sir.
Under the, and this might be for the applicant, number 2, describe how special conditions and circumstances, et cetera. It says the lanai was constructed within the existing dimensions of the porch and was approved, permitted, completed, and inspected. Is it just that we're adding the screen porch now is why that's?
There is a lanai that was currently under roof,
Yeah,
and they're extending it out.
out, okay.
Yes, and
Thank
then
you.
the other portion of the addition is open screen roof.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I guess I was on the similar thought. So is the existing lanai that's under roof, was that part, was that?
That
part?
meets,
I'm sorry?
that meets the required setback.
They're just going further.
They're extending it out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, is the applicant present? Sir, is there anything you would like to add to staff comments? Sure. All right, come up, state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Ryan Cook. I live at 2564 Morningstar Place in Oviedo, 32765. The structure that we're constructing, the lanai portion of it, it goes out and it's over an existing porch that was there when I purchased the property, within the dimensions of that porch. So it's just straight up from there, not going any further back from what that porch was. And the screen is, again, the same dimensions of the porch, just to cover it with the screen, because I sit on a lake and this is Florida. So that's kind of a better overview of what it is. The reason that we're doing 2 variances was that the lanai was already constructed, and it was when we were filing for the permit for the screen that the county noticed that we needed to apply for a variance for both, which was an unusual request. If you have any other questions, let me know.
Any questions for the applicant? Yes, sir.
I have one. Same thing we had before. Neighbors, talk to them.
Yeah. No
Where they at with
problems. No?
No?
Good people, good neighbors. They
So you've talked to them about it, though?
talked to them about it. They're aware. They're all fine with it.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion approved. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. It's approved. Good luck. All right, next item.
Item number 4 is a request for a rear yard setback variance from 30 feet to 16 feet for a pergola in the R1A's single-family dwelling district and the Winterwood subdivision located at 2268 King James Court. The proposed pergola will be 256 square feet and will encroach 14 feet into the required rear yard setback. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Sir, good evening. Oh, come on down. Please state your name and address.
Sure, my name is Andrew Holmes, address 2268 King James Court, Winter Park, 32792.
What would you like to tell us, sir?
Just Just wanted to clarify in the back there, what we're proposing to do is to remove an existing screen room that's been installed there when we purchased the house and install a pergola 2 feet farther, so 2-foot extension to that.
And have you talked to your neighbors?
We've reached out several times. They never answered the door, so we left a note and invited them to call us or to email, and we never heard from them. Yep.
Okay. With the odd shape of your yard, it would be hard to put it in without encroaching somewhere.
It's
like a pie.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying.
Okay.
We had one of those last week, too, or last month.
All right, any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion.
Mr. Chair, move to approve.
Motion to approve, we have a second?
Second?
Second, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries, it's approved. Good luck to you. All right, next item.
Item number 5 is a request for a rear yard setback variance from 10 feet to 7 feet for a pool in the planned development district in the Turnberry subdivision located at 1381 Tapestry Circle. The proposed pool will encroach 3 feet into the required rear yard setback. 4 signatures in support of were received from surrounding neighbors. However, the letter of support stated that the neighbors have no objection to the wall setback. I spoke to the applicant on October 4th and asked them to bring an updated letter of support. So I don't know that they have that. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Yes. Oh, come on down. Good evening. Please state your name and address.
My name is Jose Carlos Bretas. I am at 1381 Tapestry Circle in Lake Mary, Florida, 32746. As requested, yes, we do have a new letter, a new a new consent form from all the neighbors stating that we're asking for for a consent for a pool construction. The letter is here. It's signed by pretty much all my neighbors, and I think everyone wanted us to build this because it would bring the property values higher, so I think everybody agreed to that.
Okay, including the neighbors on both sides and the back?
Yes, that's right, yes.
Okay.
They have signed, yeah.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion
Second.
approved, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries, it's approved. Good luck.
Item number 6 is a request for a side street south setback variance from 20 feet to 5 feet for a fence in the R1BB Single Family Dwelling District and the Chapman Pines subdivision located at 2355 Green Symphony Place. The subject property is a corner lot and is considered to have 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Green Symphony Place. The Blossom Sound Court site is where the variance is being sought. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. And the proposed privacy fence will be 5 feet from the sidewalk and 28 feet from the edge of pavement. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Any questions for staff?
I have them. Is this a new development?
I don't think so. Is it? Okay.
And second follow-up is how many fences do we have? Anything in that area that you have recollection of
I
other
don't have, I
fences?
haven't had any variances that
Okay.
I could find.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Hi. Haven't seen you in a while.
It's been 2 months.
Listen, that's a good thing.
And she owns a lot of properties.
I don't know, that means business is good. All right, please state your name and address.
It's Maria Arevalo, 18905 3rd Avenue, Orlando, 32820. So this isn't really even a corner. It's like there's nowhere to go there. There's a pond, actually, which is one of the reasons why they want to bring the fence, because that pond is open, and there's people cutting across from the other side of that pond of the road. So they're wanting to close that because we have people that are kind of cutting through, leaving bikes around, not to mention that access pad that's there, which is literally like borders their property line. So that side of the fence, if you look on the interior, there's nowhere to put a gate over there. And they have a commercial-sized smoker that they want to put on the side of the house so that they can easily go in and out with it. So that's what we're asking for the variance, for those reasons.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant's representative?
If it's what I'm looking at, I'm seeing that there is a fence, though, around the dried-up lake bed that I'm looking at, but it's a retention pond.
Yeah.
But I'm showing that there is a fence around it, though.
When I went and looked at it a couple months ago, I didn't see a fence there. There wasn't a chain link fence or anything like that. And that property doesn't even belong to the HOA, it belongs to whoever is on the other side of that.
Yeah. And then I'm looking over here, and this is probably going back to staff, 2347, 2351, 2335, they all have fences.
Yes,
So
and they
I'm
do.
assuming those...
Yes, and they were granted variances.
They
for
were
those
granted
fences.
variances.
So we apologize that we didn't get that information for you, but, and they were all done from 20 feet to 5 feet.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions for the applicant's representative? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone to speak in support of the request? Anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion to approve a second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. It's approved.
See you next
Good
month.
luck. Oh, you only have one tonight, huh? Business is slow. All right.
Real
Have a
estate,
good
real
night.
estate's down, sir.
All right, next item.
Halloween's always a tough
I
time.
know, it's hard.
Good evening. For the record, Hillary Payton, Planning and Development. Item number 7 is a variance request for 995 Tuscaloosa Road, located in the Winter Spring subdivision. The request is for a side street setback reduction from 35 feet to 0 feet for a privacy fence in the RC1 zoning district. The subject property is technically a corner lot and has 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Tuscaloosa Road. The undeveloped Citrus Road side is where the variance is being sought. The request is to construct a fence entirely within the south side street setback along the undeveloped paper road. The proposed privacy fence encroaches into a 7-foot utility easement, and that building permitting will be required to meet the criteria for placement with an estoppel letter. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, so undeveloped, I'm looking at the picture, so that road doesn't actually exist.
Right,
It's just plotted.
right,
Okay.
And traffic engineering had no problem?
correct.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Oh, boy. Well, I'll tell you what.
Continue?
We either continue to the next meeting or wait to the end.
Mr. Chair,
Sir?
the board's approval move to continue to the end of the meeting?
All right.
I'm in agreement with that, but I do have a question, so I assumed somebody would be here, but.
All right, so we're going to continue this till last and see if they show up. Then we'll go from there. All right, next item.
Item number 8 is a variance request for 1631 Lakelet Loop located in the Regency Estates subdivision. The request is for a rear yard setback reduction from 20 feet to 10 and a half feet for a screen room addition in the Mickler-Chapin plan development. The request is to construct a 13-foot by 17-foot screen room addition, 9.5 feet into the 20-foot rear yard setback. The rear of the property abuts Morning Star Place. 2 letters of support have been received from the adjacent neighbors. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, any questions for staff?
Says here that other variances have been granted in the applicant, in the application package. Is that at the owner, number 2, location, the granting of variance will afford no special privileges that has not already been provided to others in the same community. Other variances have been obtained on this street.
I did not check,
Thank you.
since it's a rear yard.
Just to speak for staff, we'll make sure at next meeting that we have those, any variances that are granted in the area. We know we want to have those, and we'll have them during the next meeting.
Okay.
But I can tell you right now, if you guys want me to list out the variances, there was one in 2022, and if you could just bear for me a second, and I can tell you what it was granted.
I have that address.
Hold on. 1817, yeah.
And it
So-
was granted?
Yes, it was
Okay.
granted, and it's for a rear yard setback variance from 20 feet to 14 and 1/2 feet for a screen room addition.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay, the applicant present? Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Please state your name and address.
You betcha. My name is Brian Dorian, 2938 Stonewall Place, Sanford, Florida. I'm representing the Suarez family on Lakelet Loop. This is actually our 3rd variance in that community, but our 2nd on Lakelet Loop. The house is set well back on the lot, close to the lake. This one's not on the lake, but it is very close to the rear property line. The homeowner has obtained approval letters from neighbors. They also obtained HOA approval, but now Century Management has gone to an online portal only, and they're only responding online. I have it on my phone, but I didn't print it, and I didn't realize it till I got here, but they did get HOA approval for this as well. They would have been hard-pressed to deny them, considering how many of them we built in this community already. It's a simple screen room, 10 feet from the property line, and it's been done many times in this community before.
Okay. Any questions for applicant's representative? Yes, sir.
I apologize, just for the record, you're their contractor?
I am.
All right, gotcha, thank you, sir.
There's a letter of authorization in the packet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Do you need to see the HOA approval? I captured an image of it just in case you need to see it.
I don't need to see it.
I'm good.
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir. Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion.
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second?
Motion approved. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. It's approved. Good luck. All right, item 9.
Item number 9 is a variance request for 4532 Blue Rock Drive, located in the Riverbend at Cameron Heights subdivision. The request is for a side street setback reduction from 15 feet to 10 feet for a privacy fence in the Cameron Heights plan development. The subject property is a corner lot and has 2 front yards for setback purposes. The front of the house faces Blue Rock Drive. The Apalachicola Lane side is where the variance is being sought. The request is to construct a 6-foot tan vinyl privacy fence 5 feet into the required 15-foot side street setback. The proposed privacy fence is 10 feet from the sidewalk and 20 feet from the edge of pavement. Traffic engineering has no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. Letters of support have been received from 3 neighbors. The proposed privacy fence encroaches into a fence easement, and that building permitting will be required to meet the criteria for placement with an estoppel letter. The Riverbend at Cameron Heights Homeowners Association has approved the request. A copy of the letter has been provided to you on the dais tonight. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Good evening. Please state your name and address.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rafael Martinez. I'm the homeowner, 4532 Blue Rock Drive here in Sanford. And yes, we're just submitting this variance application just to be able to build a vinyl fence in the back, just to protect and cover the backyard. We have conversations with all our neighbors, and we included a few letters, approving and recommending the construction of it. We've seen other neighbors in our community in that same street, actually, that went through variance process themselves, and they got approved on their sides, and their new fences were built on more extended sides.
Okay.
And I can confirm that information there. This is also a fairly new subdivision, and the board has been consistent in granting fences at 10 feet in this neighborhood.
You knew where I was going.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys, for listening to me tonight.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion approved. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. It's approved. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, next item?
Item number 10 is a variance request for 454 Timber Ridge Drive, located in the Sable Point Timber Ridge subdivision. The request is for a rear yard setback reduction from 25 feet to 16.8 feet for a covered patio addition in the Sable Point plan development. The request is to construct a 396 square foot covered patio addition 8.2 feet into the required 25-foot rear yard setback. The Sable Point Homeowners Association denied the homeowner's request but stated they will reconsider if the county will grant a building permit. Letters of support have been received from 2 adjacent property owners. This concludes my presentation. I'll bill for any questions.
Any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Not so much questions, but just to put on the record, this is not just a couple doors down from my house. I have spoken to the applicants, but not in any substantive way on the issue, and I have no interest in this that might cause a conflict.
Okay.
But just in the interest of full disclosure.
Gotcha. Okay. Any questions for staff? All right, is the applicant present? Good evening.
Good evening.
Please state your name and address.
My name is Jennifer Macedonia at 454 Timber Ridge Drive in Longwood, 32779. We are asking for a variance to extend we have a very small covered patio, and we're asking for a variance to extend that into the setback for a larger covered patio for the back. You have full support in both of neighbors on either side. There's no neighbors in the back that have been in support. You wouldn't see it from anyone else's property anyway. So if you have any other questions.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Like I said, it did say that the HOA, they basically said, we can't approve it because it's not here, but we'll happily look at it again if you have the county's approval.
Yes, you know that even if the county approves it, you have to go through your HOA.
Yes, I have to resubmit. It's our thing there is on hold. So
Okay.
they said, just let us know and we will bring it back to them before we were to continue with any building projects.
All right. We have no questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Approved. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries as approved. My condolences for your neighbor.
What?
I don't get it, but I'm just.
What is?
Yeah,
Let's keep going. All right, next item.
Item number 11 is a variance request
Cruel here, jeez.
for 1337 Franklin Street, located in the San Lando subdivision. The request is for a rear yard setback reduction from 30 feet to 10 feet for an accessory structure in the R1AA zoning district. The request is to construct a 24-foot by 20-foot carport to be used as shade over an existing patio, encroaching 20 feet into the required 30-foot rear yard setback. A letter of support has been received from an adjacent neighbor. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Ooh, okay. What would the board like to do? On item 11, would we like to continue it to the next meeting?
Yeah, because we're pretty much at the end, and
Do I have a motion to continue it to the next meeting?
I'll make a move. Yeah.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's continued to the next meeting. Okay, item 12.
Item 12 is a variance request for 929 Mill Shore Drive, located in the Lake Mill Shore subdivision. The request is for an east side street setback reduction from 25 feet to 1 foot for a privacy fence in the R1A zoning district. The subject property is a corner lot and has 2 front yards for setback purposes. The northern side of Mill Shore Drive is where the variance is being sought. The request is to bring into compliance the construction of a vinyl privacy fence 24 feet into the required 25-foot side street setback. Traffic engineering and no objection to the placement of the fence as it relates to site visibility. The privacy fence is 20 feet from the edge of pavement and without a sidewalk to encroach upon. A code enforcement violation, number 23-162, was issued for the structure, resulting in the necessity of this variance. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Good evening, sir. Thank you for your patience. We're slow, but we get there. Please state your name and address.
Charlie Knoll, 929 Mill Shore Drive, Chiliota, Florida, 32766.
Okay, what would you like to tell us, sir?
I've lived here since 1987, and I've had a privacy fence at the same location since probably 88. I have some old photographs from 1992, which will illustrate an old weathered privacy fence at the exact location where I put a new fence.
Okay, can y'all put that on the screen? Yeah.
You can see on the right-hand side of the house how far out the fence goes. And this here was done in, like I said, 1992. We had an addition, a second story put on in a garage. It was all permitted, and a survey, which I can't find, would have reflected the location of the existing fence.
I got you. So you replaced the fence
Here's
and
the
then
new
code
fence.
enforcement cited you.
Yeah, it's at the same spot. And then this is the new fence that replaced the old ones, so.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us, sir?
No, that's it. It's just trying to get the variance to put the fence where it has been for, quite a few years and that.
Okay. Do we have any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone to speak in support of the request? Is there anyone to speak in opposition to the request? We have a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion to approve a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries as approved. Good luck to you. All right, we need to go back to item 8, I believe.
7.
The applicant has not showed up. Would we like to continue that as well?
Continue.
Continue.
Motion?
Motion to continue.
We have a second. Third. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries, it's continued. All right, last thing, minutes. They were emailed out, I saw them.
Very well done, yes.
Any additions, subtractions, changes? Motion to approve?
Motion
made.
approved. So moved. Second.
All right. Motion approved, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, approved. Anything else for the good of the order? We're adjourned. Have a good holiday.
Happy Thanksgiving, and remember our next meeting is our holiday meeting, so it's on our December 4th, and we have a new board member.
Yes, I heard.
We have a judge,
Herman Bravo.
Judge Carmine,
Carmine.
thank you. I knew I was already doing it wrong.